Independent MP for Blackburn, Adnan Hussain, who is a member of the Independent Alliance and is involved with the New Left Party, has raised some red flags. So it started with a tweet from India Willoughby, who expressed concerns that Hussain was socially conservative. She said, "I honestly think Zara Sultana, who I have a lot of faith in, and Jeremy Corbyn need to make a statement about Adnan Hussain and trans rights. My community is living in very real fear at the moment. Terrifying. We are sick to the back teeth of hearing trans hate is a point of view." Now, Adnan responded by saying, "There was no hatred expressed, India. It's a conversation that needs to be had. Agreeing with women on their need for spaces exclusive to them is not an expression of hatred to any other community. I stated the need for safe spaces for trans people. That's not hatred." Now, below that, he was asked, "Do you believe that trans women are women? Because agreeing with women on their need for spaces exclusive to them excludes them from the category of women." And he simply replied, "They're not biological women. They're not biologically women, hence trans women." So Adnan says he supports third spaces, which is segregation. There's no other way of putting it. Now, many people took to Twitter to criticize him, and his response was to double down. This is a thread he made. To provide some context to the vicious attack from the so-called allies on the left. In the lead up to the Your Party event in Blackburn, we sent out a QR code encouraging people to ask questions about the new party. Questions like the ones below were common, and he shared a screenshot of various messages he's got on WhatsApp. This is one of them. "Hi, a question for Jeremy Corbyn. Please, can he clarify if the single-sex exemptions in the Equality Act are safe with your party and how he envisions gaining the trust of politically homeless women who were previously of the left?" Now, it's worth pointing out, I had a discussion with my producer backstage, that there are many parties that already exist that do that. Why message an MP who could be influential in a new left-wing party about, well, gender-critical and trans-exclusionary political parties? The Conservatives, Reform, and even Labour. They're there. They can go join them. For me, I don't think these people would vote for the left anyway. Because in my experience, and speaking to a lot of people, a lot of TERFs are just right-wing, okay? I don't think there's many radical, feminist, left-wing people who are suddenly just gender-critical. That is very, very rare. A lot of the time, you scratch them and you find out, oh, they're really right-wing on other areas. So I don't think these people would vote for Jeremy Corbyn anyway. He's been had, or what could be worse is he knows he's being had, but he's using it to push a certain narrative. So this will continue the thread. This is not the first time I've been met with such concerns. Women in my constituency have expressed similar sentiments. I felt that it was an issue that needed addressing, and I feel their voice must not be ignored. I expressed as much. Doing so has led to an attack at times more vicious than what I've become accustomed to from the right. It's a pathetic reaction. Solidarity counts for nothing if it's predicated on people being absolutely obedient and uniform. A mass movement can only be built and succeed if it allows room for differences and adult discussions without the absolute hysteria I've witnessed over the last few days. I mean, I feel like if you're going to be an influential MP in a new political party that could be very popular, if you're struggling to take criticisms on Twitter, you're not cut out for the job. So he has gender critical views, right? And I think calling for third spaces is just completely transphobic. So this could be a real problem for the new left-wing party. Now, debate and discussion is good. You don't want everyone agreeing. But the problem I have is that certain things are worthy of debate and others are probably not. And these are about people's rights. This isn't debating tax policy or housing. This is about human freedom. Now, for me, my socialism is expanding individual rights and liberty for all, which include trans people. Of course it does. So I'm not sure what angle he's trying to pitch to. And also the name, I mean, look, it's not called Your Party, but at the moment they're saying, this is your party. Well, it's your party for people who are not trans, I guess. Now, he said these are his personal views and that the policies will be decided by the members. But what makes this so much worse is that he's had support from Rupert Lowe and Rosie Duffield. It's also worth pointing out that he's also a landlord. So this new party can be a mass membership of people with lots of different ideas, but should a transphobic landlord be involved in a left-wing party? Right? We have Labour, the Tories, and Reform. Go join one of them. They'll take you in. And he can't even go join the Workers' Party because they're communists and he's a landlord. Helena, what are your thoughts on Adnan? And do you think this could be a real problem for the new party?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that people who are members of the bourgeois would be completely refused entry to the Workers' Party, to be honest. I think that they would also probably be pretty amenable to having a bourgeois landlord as a member of the party or as an MP. But it shows you just how disparate all of this was, and that the idea that somehow these people can just become MPs for the new political party entirely off a mandate of being elected as independent candidates for the areas and the seats that they were elected in, and in a lot of cases specifically on a pro-Gaza ticket. Perfectly reasonable ticket. Lots of communities not only been left behind economically by Labour, but have been left behind on foreign policy as well. And that is a representation of Labour abandoning their base, is a representation of the fact these communities have been some of the people who were lost out lots due to austerity, and the unwillingness of Labour to actually properly address those concerns will have turned those communities away. But just because you're somebody who has similar foreign policy opinions, pretty identical foreign policy opinions to the founders of this new party, i.e. Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana, and then the kind of morass of old school Corbyn Loto office type people that surrounds them as well, like, you don't have a divine right to this. And the fact that it's been embraced by Corbyn so quickly, I find very frustrating. But regardless, they don't have a divine right. At the end of the day, I mean, at least Adnan Hussain was right about one thing, which is that the policy should be decided by the members, but also the MPs should be decided by the members. So, for example, I'm a member of the Green Party. If someone wanted to defect to the Green Party from another political party, they would not be allowed to do so unless they got the members to agree to them. We would not accept a new MP unless they were voted on to be accepted by the membership. That should be the case with your party as well. And, for example, if somebody has views that we see as out of kilter with the broad ideas of the membership, they should be a perfectly reasonable idea to block them from being an MP. That counts for the Greens, counts for the new political party, whatever it might be in future. In my opinion, that's how it should work. And also, like, if he says, well, I'll happily just go along with the policies voted on the membership, then that is probably at least something when it comes to his own personal opinions outside of the broader economic policy, which is mostly what this party should be about, foreign and economic policy. If he's happy to compromise on his own personal views on trans people, which I'm perfectly agreeable to be in a party with somebody who disagrees on these things personally, but who doesn't put that to the front of policy. One thing that's been really important to understand, especially about the Muslim community in this country, who've been members of the Labour Party in droves, right? They've been heavily wedded to the Labour movement up until the kind of breaking point over Gaza. None of these people ever put their social concerns above the importance of the broader collective bloc of progressives that support multiculturalism and support protection for this community broadly. They understand that their own ideas and their own beliefs and their own social conservatism is a microcosm of their own community, but when it's coming to the broader national programme, they realise that that's for them, not for everybody else. That shouldn't be the case when it comes to this party, and I hope that remains to be the case. But fundamentally, those disagreements on social policy can get hashed out by the membership in due time. And I think that's absolutely fine. And if Adnan Hussain is happy to continue a party line if it gets voted on at conference, sure. But what is indefensible is someone who claims to want socialist working class politics, in fact, derides other people who question him on his social conservatism, about not having the same commitment to socialist class politics, working class politics, and being a multiple fucking landlord and a director of multiple real estate companies. Bitch, you are the bourgeois. You are quite literally the enemy of the working class in every respect, especially considering that the housing crisis is the everything crisis, and the most contemptible class within the bourgeois are landlords and people with investments in real estate. You know? Social positions aside, those are personal opinions they'll be decided on later. But when it comes to the raw crux of what a socialist working class party should be, you should have representatives in parliament who are socialists and members of the working class, not bourgeois landlords. Like, this doesn't compute at all. Like, the idea that you should have a landlord being a member of an explicitly socialist party, because that doesn't just apply to Adnan Hussain as well. I believe Ayub Khan and Sokrat Adam are also landlords. No, They have
Yeah.
no mandate to be in a socialist party if they're landlords. None at all.
So I agree that I don't really have a problem with people being a member of a political party and they've got social conservative views, but they're only members, and we just take their money and we say thanks for the money, but your social conservative views won't go anywhere because the membership decides the policy, right? That is going to, especially if you're trying to build a mass party, you're going to have lots of different opinions. And if you're willing to pay subs for it, right, in return for probably not having your views enshrined into the manifesto or whatever, I'm okay with that. It's the fact that he's already assumed that he's going to be the MP, because he's saying stuff like, well, don't worry, these are my personal views, I will listen to the membership. And that's, to me, is a bit of a problem, because as you've mentioned about the Green Party, you can't be an MP unless it's decided by the Greens. He's acting as if, oh no, I will be your delegate, don't worry. And that's not very democratic. Like, Adnan Hussain is going to these conferences with Jeremy Corbyn as if he's going to be some sort of influential figure. Now, where's the democratic mandate for him to be an MP of your party? That's something I think is a big disconnect, right? And also, there's no guarantee that he would listen to the membership. He can say that, but there's no guarantee.
I mean, if you want to take on like voting on policies in Parliament already, if you want to have a look at Adnan Hussain and indeed literally every other member of the Independent Alliance that isn't Jeremy Corbyn's and Daryl Sultana's commitment to socialist and progressive economic policy, literally all of them voted against taxing private schools. Yep. I'm sorry, what topsy-turvy working class socialist world is this, where somehow the wealthy are able to essentially tax dodge by spending their money buying a commodity which is solely the preserve of the elite? This is not socialist, it's not working class, and it's not populist in the slightest. Like, the idea that, because literally every single one of them, Iqbal Mohammed, Ayub Khan, Sarakat Adam, and Adnan Hussain, they all voted both against the original budget proposal for VAT on school fees and for a Tory proposed opposition day motion to cancel the VAT on private school fees. This is just elite politics. This is the total opposite of everything that your party should represent.
So I was a bit unfair during the general election. Sorry. I thought the media were unfair during and after the general election, when there was obviously the Independent Alliance, or the independent MPs won. And they said, oh, it's a sectarian vote, and they only won on Gaza. And I dismissed all of it. I thought there was Islamophobic undertones to that, right? And even though on some policy areas, some of the Independent Alliance are not too bad on, right? It's hard to disagree now to say, well, people like Adnan Hussain won purely because of Gaza. And of course, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because it's hugely important. Our government is complicit in a genocide. But if you're winning just on that ticket, right, then fine, you can be an independent MP and Jeremy Corbyn can work with you on Gaza, or the Green Party can work with Adnan Hussain on Gaza as an independent. But seemingly this might be sectarian. You can't usher them into a new political party when it's more than one policy. It's not just the Gaza party. There's other policies. So do you think that actually there is truth to the sort of sectarian argument there? Or do you think that's still a load of rubbish?
I think it's still just kind of a fact that I think they're just more liberal in their outlook on the economy. I think that's the reality. I think if it was going to be explicitly sectarian, I don't think you'd have Adnan Hussain coming out here and saying, I would happily be willing to do what the membership wants me to do. Because if it was explicitly sectarian, that would be a red line. That they would be specifically saying, I am not wanting to join any kind of new party. Yeah. I'm not, because otherwise they'd want to join a explicitly sectarian party, which this one is not. They want to remain the independent MP for their area and refuse to engage in politics that isn't specifically on international policy or on the interests of the community, right? I think that whether it's sectarian, I don't think it's necessarily sectarian politics. I think that's an overreach.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's socialist politics. I don't think it's class politics. I don't think it's progressive politics. I mean, Ayub Khan was literally a liberal Democrat.
Yeah,
as a councillor before he became an MP. So, like, if you're a member of the Lib Dems, can you really be truly a properly socialist values? Like, not really.
I suppose the time frame matters, because obviously Zach Polanski was a Lib Dem, but I do think it matters, and also obviously his politics has changed. He's expressed that. Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, well, things, yeah, I think you're right. Time frame is important. It's worth pointing out Ayub Khan was a Lib Dem literally up until October the 7th in 2023, when he was removed from the party, I believe, because he had said things about the Hannibal Directive that, of course, turned out to be very much true, and he was expelled for anti-Semitism, which was nonsense. But regardless, he still was a Liberal Democrat up until they told him they weren't going to want him there, rather than Zach Polanski, who left of his own accord and then became a Green, spent a decade in Green Party politics, and then becomes leader. I think these are two different things. I voted for the Dems in 2010. Should that really be hung around my news? Should that news be hung around my neck forever? No.
I can say that I've never ever voted for the Liberal Democrats. That's I've only ever voted Labour and the Green Party. So, but having said that, you've got one general election on me. My first election was 2015. Maybe if I voted in 2010, I can understand being young and a student, like Liberal Democrats could be enticing.
Never again.
Never again. So Corbyn and Sultana, they're social progressives, right? I mean, what would you expect them to do? What do you think they should do? Because there isn't a structure yet. There's no disciplinary system. So do you think this is going to be a really awkward few months until this new party is formed? Or do you think there's anything they can do? Because I'm seeing, I don't know if it's big, but I'm seeing some people start to kind of turn on Corbyn a little bit, just saying this is really bad. So do you think actually the longer this drags out, this could make Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana look bad? And could this be splits, or what do you think?
I think it's a little too early to potentially look at there being a big kind of rift or a fissure in terms of the party, right? I'm sure they'll find a way together to get around it. They have to do so because they're there for the next 5 years, or the next 4 years, because they've been there for a year already. So those things will get hashed out regardless. I do think that people like Zara and Jeremy will attract, as the figureheads of the party, more progressive people. And then, of course, anyone who does join the party and the MPs that do will be bound by the motion being passed at conference. What it does tell you, though, is this is a very slapdash effort of party creation. I mean, this was my initial criticism at the start, that it all felt like it was thrown together at the last minute with no real plan. And that does seem to continue to be the case. People saying, oh, well, Greens are going to have to stand down in a bunch of seats for your party in the future, or the next set of local elections, which is in May. And like, do you think this is a party that's going to be ready to fight local elections in, 2/3 of a year's time, 8 months' time? I think that is really kind of over-egging the pudding. I think if it's taken this long to just even form the idea of what the party should look like, the conference date hasn't been set. We have no idea about what membership looks like, just a mailing list at this point. Don't even have a name or any policies. And they might think about standing candidates to local elections. This all seems very far-fetched to me.
Yeah. I think if it makes its promises and is a fully democratic party, membership decides policy and even their MPs, then I don't think people like Adnan is a huge issue.
Exactly.
But that to me is contingent on whether it's actually democratic. That's my view on it. So you're probably
I just want to clarify as well. Like, I'm not by me saying I don't think they're going to be ready for the local elections in May. Doesn't think that they're never going to be ready, or they won't get their act together, or there won't be some kind of broader party structure in the future. But this set of local elections is going to be really important, specifically because you looked at the local elections in May. This catapulted reform from the party of protest to the party of opposition, because they had such a kind of landmark defeat of the Conservatives in all these Conservative council defences, 18 of them where they lost. We need to inflict a body blow on Labour in May to be able to change the national conversation about who the insurgents is, because it's all Labour defences: London, Leeds, Manchester, Bristol, Birmingham, right? And whilst I think Birmingham might be very kind of heavily focused on people like your party or whatever it might be, or independent candidates, Bristol, London, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, these are all going to be like green attacks on Labour. And in first past the post, I want there to be a concerted effort to be able to make sure that we change the narrative to Labour losing votes from the left, and not Nigel Farage as the official opposition, which was the narrative that was taken from May. Future elections, whatever, if your party are in a position to start contesting things, I'm all up for negotiations. I'm all up for seeing what that looks like. And I hope they do get their act together, because I value Jeremy and Zara, especially in terms of their contribution to politics. But at time of recording, I'm not seeing it.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.